It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents, to see you fight for a terrorist like this.
Just when we thought Donald Trump had just one feisty female defender, Caroline Leavitt, we've just seen Kristi Noem hold her ground so good. Surely speaks to the quality of people President Donald Trump chose to head different delicate offices on his cabinet. I'm most glad to have you all here. Please, before we proceed, help this video get a wider reach by liking it. Now let's dive into the drama that ensued at the House.
I now recognize Mr. Goldman for 5 minutes questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to go back to Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case, Madam Secretary. But my first question for you is a pretty simple one. It's basic civics. Which branch of government does the Constitution give the authority to interpret what the law is, the judiciary or the executive branch?
Sir, going forward, the interpretation of the law, you make the laws in this body. The judicial branch makes sure that they have integrity and they're applied properly to individuals.
So I'm just going to take that as the judiciary branch. Now, let's focus for a second on what the judiciary branch has said about this case. We know the Supreme Court has said 9-0 that, notwithstanding your statements under oath here today, that Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was afforded due process. He was, in fact, not afforded due process, because then if he were, you would have seen the withholding order that did not permit him to be deported to El Salvador. Now, you allege, and I guess the Attorney General alleges, that he's a member of MS-13. That may very well be the case. And if he is, now that is a foreign terrorist organization, certainly the immigration laws would allow him, and in fact require him, to be deported. I certainly would support that. But the problem that we have here is what you allege, what Ms. Green alleges, what the Attorney General alleges, is not the judiciary. You don't get to decide whether or not he is an MS-13 member.
No one is above the law, neither is anyone beneath it. This is the truth. But I'm still puzzled as to how everyone questioning, Abrego Garcia's removal from the US totally forgets the term illegal immigrant. A quick search in any dictionary would and should provide the, right perspective for saying judgment. So for those who don't understand, this individual has no legal documents permitting his stay in the US, and that's the first thing that should be considered amidst the numerous charges leveled against him.
But the problem that we have here is what you allege, what Ms. Green alleges, what the Attorney General alleges, is not the judiciary. You don't get to decide whether or not he is an MS-13 member. And you don't have to take my word for it, because Judge Wilkinson, a Fourth Circuit judge, very conservative, addressed this argument. He said, the government asserts that Abrego Garcia is a terrorist and a member of MS-13. Perhaps, but perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process. If the government is confident in its position, it should be assured that position will prevail in proceedings to terminate the withholding of removal order. Will you commit right now to give Mr. Abrego Garcia that process where you can prove your allegation that he is a member of MS-13?
Congressman, that judge that you just quoted did not say he was not a member of MS-13. Who did say that he was a member of MS-13 was law enforcement officers that encountered this individual.
Yeah, he knows that. This is a Fourth Circuit judge. He knows all of what the evidence is, and he's saying if that evidence. So you're not going to commit to follow this order. You won't commit to follow this court order.
By the way, he identified
Madam Secretary,
himself.
I reclaim my time. Stop filibustering. Stop filibustering.
By gang members of MS-13.
Will you give Mr. Abrego Garcia the due process that the Supreme Court and Judge Wilkinson has required you to give him?
Abrego Garcia is an El Salvador resident who is in his home country. If he were to come back to this country, he would be immediately removed again.
I have a question. Would this senator or any of the Democrats defending Abrego Garcia, be comfortable living as next door neighbors to him? A man who has been fingered by 2 judges and agents as gang member. Once again, once reality sets in, the woke mindset rolls up the table. This is a fact. Now, if these folks won't put their lives and that of their family members at risk, what makes them so comfortable rooting for such a criminal, knowing that he poses a threat to the residents of Maryland? I bet no one has proper response to this. I can bet that no one has a proper response to this particular statement.
No.
He has received and been treated appropriately,
So he,
sir, and he is not.
how can
in
you
this
say he's
country
been
anymore
treated
for
appropriately
advocacy?
if the Supreme Court has ruled 9-0? 9-0 that he hasn't been treated appropriately. Why is your opinion better
We had
and
two
have
judges,
more authority than the Supreme Court?
investigators, 2 judges, an immigration court that all said he was MS-13 and was removed from this country.
But you understand, that is you saying that. That is you saying that.
That is them saying that. This
No,
is
no, no, no.
investigators and law
That is
enforcement
you
officers
making
and
that
the case they built
determination.
against him. If you don't
The
trust our law
court
enforcement
has
officers
considered all that.
and
The judge has
investigators,
considered all that,
then
Madam
who do you
Secretary.
trust if you
And
don't
if you would be
trust judges?
quiet, because I'm reclaiming my time, you are not following this court order. But let's focus on the court order, because this opinion also says that to facilitate, which the Supreme Court is requiring, is an active verb. It requires that steps be taken. What steps have you taken to return Mr. Abrego Garcia to allow him to get due process?
Abrego Garcia is in his home country.
What
If he were to come
steps
back here,
have
your
you
advocacy-
Taken?
taken?
It's simple. The Maryland man Abrego Garcia is now in his home country, the only place where he's allowed to legally live in, yet these US Democrats want him back to the US. I don't know, maybe as an envoy or something, because this is not something that, makes sense to the normal people who think with through the common sense or with common sense. I truly do not understand why the left is so passionate about this man when their legal constituents do not have their needs sorted out. I can never understand it, and I choose not to understand it in the first place. Well, I'll leave you with Christy Noam's closing remarks, but before you see it, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now here it is.
If your continued advocacy for him were to...
I'm not advocating for him.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
advocating for a
Absolutely.
court order, Madam
Gone to the
Secretary.
mat for this
The
man
court
who
order
has terrorized
says
people
that
in
you
traffic
must take
and human
steps
beings.
to follow the court order. You are here under oath. What steps have you taken to return Mr. Abrego Garcia pursuant to this court order?
It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents. To see you fight for a terrorist like this and not fight for them is extremely alarming to me.
I'm fighting for
sure it
due
is my
process.
constituents as
And
well.
that's under the Constitution.
Gentleman's
and you
time
should
has
fight too for due
expired.
process.
The gentleman's time has expired. I now